All right, we're live here. Post-game, Vikings 23, San Francisco 17. That one took me by surprise. If last week was a bit of, not shocking that the Vikings beat the Giants last week, but if that was kind of the blueprint for how they can win, I think the question going into this game was, can they do it against one of the best teams in the league instead of one of the worst teams in the league? That's the difference between the Giants and the 49ers. It's pretty obvious. And I think you saw the blueprint in both games. What you didn't necessarily know was what you were going to get from the defense today, what you're going to get from Sam Darnold. But it's been Darnold has completely impressed me. I don't know what else to say about how good he has been. Defining moment, obviously. San Francisco, the momentum changed, right? Second half of this game, Vikings are up 20-7. Looks like they're going to go in for a score that puts them up even more. Looks like it's going to be a 3-score game. On the verge of blowing out the 49ers, or at least a comfortable win. Aaron Jones fumbles at the 1. The play before that, Justin Jefferson lost to an injury. We didn't see him the rest of the game. 49ers drive 99 yards. It's 20-14 all of a sudden. It's getting uncomfortable. There's still lots of time left in the game. Sam Darnold needs to deliver. He's had a good game to that point. He had the one mistake, the red zone interception, but other than that, he had been very good in the game. So what was he going to bring to the table? Well, I tweeted it. I was like, he's got, can he put together a drive that produces points, takes time off the clock? And everyone's like, no, probably not. We've watched the Vikings. We've seen how this goes before. And instead, he delivers, right? 3 third-down conversions on that drive. They take like 6.5 minutes off the clock. The first one to Brandon Powell, pretty simple pitch and catch. Nice play design on that one. But after that 27-yarder to Jalen Naylor, that back shoulder throw, 3rd and 7, it had to have it kind of play. San Francisco gets the ball back there. They've still got a lot of momentum. I feel like San Francisco is going to go down, get a touchdown, and win that game. Probably at that point, the score would have been 21-20. Instead, they move it all the way down. They don't punch it in, but they get 3. They take a ton of time off the clock to the point that San Francisco is left in a 2-score game, and in a game where all they can do really is move the ball up the field, try to get a score and an onside kick. Vikings even hold them there. And so to the point there where they get there, and it's a comfortable enough win, right? Nothing's comfortable ever with the Vikings. Nothing is ever routine with the Vikings, but it's a comfortable enough win in the end to make you feel like that's the blueprint. 23 points. It kind of felt like a Mike Zimmer style game. We'll get to Mike Zimmer in a minute. He did not have a good day as defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, but that is the blueprint. Complementary football. And kind of going above and beyond with the kind of plays that you want to see. Some questions, some calls here in just a minute. Other big takeaways from that game. The defense, gave up some points. 17 is not a ton of points. Gave up some yards. Made the big plays though. I thought they held firm in the big plays. San Francisco had 2 long drives, but they got off the field on one of them. The other one, it felt like everything San Francisco did outside of a couple squishy zone completions, everything was earned. They made San Francisco earn everything they got, and that to me felt like it was important. Turnovers, they forced 2 turnovers. They get after the quarterback. Patrick Jones, the second, has 2 more sacks. A lot of playmakers on the front 7, something we're not used to the Vikings having at this point. It's different. Last year, it felt like if they were going to get any kind of pass rush, it was going to be Danielle Hunter. This year, it's coming from a lot of different places. If they're going to get stops anywhere on the field, it's coming from a lot of different places. So I felt like that was a big difference. That was a big difference in this game. Was last week going to carry over to this week? Well, now they're 2-0. Now they've beaten not just the Giants, who are bad, but they've now beaten one of the best teams in the NFL. I get it. No Christian McCaffrey, but still, that's a team that's going to contend. That's going to contend to get in the NFC. They've got tons of skill position players, tons of really good players. That's the second year in a row that a Brian Flores defense has been able to shut that team down. Basically, just kind of stream of consciousness at this point. Just watching this game, watching the way it unfolded, the momentum in this game, the momentum kept flipping back and forth. It was turning, twisting, turning. Felt like the kind of game the Vikings were going to find a way to lose, right? It felt like the kind of game the Vikings were going to find a way to lose. They've lost games like this in the past. They've not been able to close out games like this in the past. Finding a way to win this kind of game against the 49ers, finding a way to, when when things start going against you, you've built a nice kind of cushion, right? Like there's a couple points where things start turning against you. You're up 10-0. Looks like it's going to be maybe 17-0. This, the 10-0 you get on the 97-yard touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson. By the way, that's twice. That's 2 weeks in a row that Darnold has found Jefferson on a long pass in stride. That was a perfect throw, perfect pitch and catch. I love Jalen Naylor. I think it was Naylor running down the field to finish off that last block at the end, by the way. But they get the pitch and catch to Jefferson, the long touchdown. They're up 10-0. They get the ball right back. I think it was a turnover. I can't remember exactly. Turnover on down, something like that. They're going back. Darnold makes his worst throw of the day. He made one kind of mediocre throw on that first scoring drive where they ended up escaping, getting a field goal. But the worst throw he made was the one that Fred Warner picked off. I mean, great interception by Warner. Bad decision, though. I don't know what he's seeing on that play. He knew it immediately. It kind of went against everything he's been saying this offseason about letting your playmakers just get the ball out, get it to your playmakers, let them make plays. That was a forced throw, and it cost him because San Francisco comes right back. Also, all of a sudden, it's 10-7 after that. You're feeling like, okay, you've dominated the first half, and all of a sudden, you're going to be only up 10-7, and it may be worse than that if you can't put together a drive in the 2-minute offense to get points. But they get points there. They get 13-7 at halftime. They get it up to 20-7 in the second half. Naylor wide open again in the end zone, 20-7. Looks like they're going to go in. Like I said, looks like they're going all the way in to score again. And then what happens? The Aaron Jones fumble. By the way, Jones looked like he was shaken up a little bit on a future play. We'll have to watch what his status is going forward. But they had the fumble at the 1 yard line. Like I said, one play after Justin Jefferson goes out. So all of a sudden it's 20-14 after San Francisco goes all the way back 99 yards. This is a recipe for a Vikings loss. So much so that even by the time they got it all the way back down to the other end, but when the Vikings put together that drive, I'm thinking, don't let this be a 27-yard field goal because we bear the scars, right? We bear the scars of what has happened in the past. What's happened in the past in 27 yards? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Blair Walsh in 2015. So the field goal ends up being 27 yards. Even that's changed. Will Reichert, the rookie kicker, comes in like it's nothing. And it should be nothing, but he comes in, drills it like it's nothing. It makes it into the exact kind of game where it should be, that San Francisco doesn't have time to come down and do anything else than score once and have an onside kick. They routinely cover the onside kick, 2 kneel downs, and it's over. It was a textbook closeout of a game. The problem is we have not seen textbook closeouts of games from the Vikings in the past. That's what made it so interesting. That's what made it so un-Vikings-like. This feels like a very un-Vikings-like team so far. It's not like they're playing perfectly clean football. They had some dumb mistakes. Dallas Turner, gave away 19 yards of field position when he couldn't field the punt earlier, couldn't down the punt earlier in the first half. Jumps off sides late in the game, cost them some time there. It didn't end up costing them anything, but could have put them in a precarious position where San Francisco gets in the end zone before the 2-minute warning, maybe has 30 seconds left for a last gasp possession if the Vikings can't get a first down. Didn't end up costing them. By the way, Andrew Van Ginkel, we gotta name the play where he jumps out and either intercepts or almost intercepts. He did it almost again today. That play at the very end where he almost intercepted another one where he jumps the little bubble screen. He did it again. Didn't catch that one, but made it so that San Francisco didn't get in the end zone. Made it so San Francisco had to settle for a field goal, runs more time off the clock. Probably didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So it's going to come down to an onside kick anyway, but made it a little bit more comfortable in the end and made it a 17 instead of a 20, which makes you feel a little bit better in the end of the game. So Sam Darnold, I think, though, is the X factor right now. He is playing like a mid-level quarterback, like a competent, little bit above game manager level quarterback, right? Because they asked him to make plays. They had to ask him to make plays on that last, the last drive before the kneel down. They asked him to make plays. Sam, go make plays. Go do something. Go get 3 first downs because we need them. 3rd and 8, Brandon Powell. 3rd and 7, Jalen Naylor for 27 yards. 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 2, down in San Francisco territory, but still enough time for San Francisco to maybe get 2 scores. Extends the drive again with 5 yards to Brandon Powell. Just an immaculate drive by Sam Darnold in that sequence to get them into a spot. They end up with 1st and goal at the 5. Yeah, they go backwards from that point. Played it safe from that point, which I thought was the right thing. Felt like that was the right thing to do in that moment. But Darnold has been the X factor. Numbers on the day were really good. I mean, he was impressive all game. winds up with 250 yards, so it's 17 of 25, something like that. Did have the interception, but 2 touchdowns, extended play with his legs. Yeah, 17 of 26, 268, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, passer rating 109.1. The running game was good, 146 yards on the ground. I mean, they had over 400 yards of total offense in this game. Ty Chandler, 10 carries, 82 yards, carrying the load in this game. Jones, just 9 carries, but Darnold, 5 carries, 32 yards, and that includes the 2 kneel downs at the end. He had the 18-yarder, I think a 14-yarder in the first half, extending plays with his legs. Now, the tendency is to make comparisons, right? The tendency is to make comparisons to Kirk Cousins because that's the guy who is here for 6 years. Darnold does not have the pedigree of a Kirk Cousins, but he's doing things that they need, that the Vikings need him to do right now. Extending plays with his legs, extending plays with his arm, not making the back-breaking mistakes. Again, I know he made one bad throw, but they trusted him enough on that last drive where they had to have yards, had to have points to get it done. And that says a lot to me. That says that they are feeling pretty comfortable about what he can do. They're not making it overly complicated for him. I don't think it was, I don't think those were throws where they were asking him to make a lot of reads or a lot of checks, things like that. But those were plays where they were putting the ball in his hands and trusting him to make those decisions, to make good throws, to make good decisions in the end of that game. And they had to have those plays. So I'm impressed. I'm more impressed than I imagined I was going to be with Sam Darnold right now. I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are really impressed by him right now. What's not impressive? Let's look around the league a little bit. So it was a good day for the Vikings, obviously, because they won. Let's look at the full scoreboard really quick before we get out of here. Number 1, Detroit lost. Detroit lost to the Buccaneers. Final score there was 20. I'm just going to find it right now. I want to make sure it's right. 20-16. So Detroit loses. Vikings in sole possession in first place. Yes, the Packers got a win. They kind of coaxed a win out of Malik Willis. Josh Jacobs, a massive day, 32 carries, 151 on the ground. They beat the Colts 16-10. Maybe the Packers defense is better than I thought they were. Picked off a second-year guy from Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson, 3 times. They get a big win without Jordan Love. So that was a big one for them. Not a good day for Mike Zimmer. I was told, we were told that Mike Zimmer was brought in to help stop the run. His old nemesis, Alvin Kamara, winds up 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kamara also had a receiving touchdown. Saints 44, Cowboys 19. That's the second straight week. Saints are over 40. But Mike Zimmer's defense gets shredded in that game. Saints over Cowboys. Are the Saints that good? 4 touchdowns for Kamara, not the 6 that they scored against the Vikings on New Year's Day, but or on Christmas a few years ago. But a big game nonetheless for him, and not a good day for Mike Zimmer. Obviously, you've got a big one with the Bears tonight. We'll see if the Bears can get themselves into that 2-0 company. But right now, the Vikings all by themselves, 2-0. Lions 1-1, Packers 1-1. Bears 1-0, but a tough one for them tonight against the Texans. So we'll see kind of what they've got in that game. Texans a home game for them. Texans favored by almost a touchdown. So we'll see. Vikings could be in sole possession, could be 2-0, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1 after tonight. And then, of course, Falcons, Kirk Cousins tomorrow night against the Eagles. Again, we don't have to have Schadenfreude right now. You don't have to have Schadenfreude if you're a Vikings fan because things are going well for your team right now. You don't have to revel in kind of the misfortune of other teams right now, but you do have a good thing going with Kirk. Sorry, I almost said Kirk Cousins. A good thing going with Sam Darnold right now. A good thing going with the balance, the commitment to balance. Right? Not all of these were designed plays. But if you look at the final tally for the Vikings, and they didn't run a ton of plays. One reason is because they had a 97-yard touchdown. One reason is San Francisco held the ball for a long time. But 26 passes for Sam Darnold, 24 team runs. So only 50 plays. It was kind of similar to last week. They only run like 50 plays last week. But the run-pass balance has been about 50-50. Yeah, 5 of those were, Darnold. One of them, kneel downs for a couple of them, and not designed runs. But that's more balance than Kevin O'Connell has showed in his past as a play caller. That's more balanced than I gave them credit for having this year. That's going to be key because, to have Darnold be able to throw the ball, to be able to have him successful, you want him at about 20 to 25 throws. He had 26 today. That's okay. Again, passer rating up there. I'm thinking his QBR is going to be way up there because he made winning plays in this game. 2-0. I did not think they'd be 2-0 at this point. I went into the season looking at it saying, can they beat the Giants? And if you can't beat the Giants, when is your next win going to come from? Where is your next win going to come from? So now they beat the Giants. They beat them handily. Again, kind of a tidy win. But again, we were like, it's the Giants. Did we learn more about the Vikings or the Giants in that game? Because the Giants are just that bad. I think we learned a lot about the Vikings in that game in retrospect, because we saw the same kind of blueprint in this game that we saw in that game. It just was a little bit of a different flavor to it, because obviously you're going against a better team. So I don't know. I'm surprised right now. If you're a Vikings fan, you have to be pleasantly surprised right now, unless you were rooting for failure, which again, you should never be rooting for failure. 2-0 on the season. You got, the Texans next week. That's a possibility. The Texans are very good, but you got Brian Flores with all these chess pieces now going against a very good, but also a very young quarterback in CJ Stroud next week. Game after that at Green Bay. Game after that in London. By the way, I'll be at that game, so I'll probably be bringing you some fun stuff from the London game. I'll be going as a fan. I'm sorry, not something as a fan, but as in the bleachers. I'll be in the stands in that game, and so going to that, have some fun with that. But all of a sudden, you look at this. If you can beat San Francisco at home, you got to feel like, okay, you can compete with anybody in the league right now if you feel like you can beat San Francisco at home. So encouraging win all around for the Vikings. You got to watch the injuries right now. That's where you got concerns going forward, right? How healthy is Aaron Jones? He got a little dinged up. How healthy is Justin Jefferson, who didn't come back in this game? Are you going to have to go into next week wondering if you are without Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, arguably easily your three most experienced, most valuable pass catchers from a year ago? Can you still play the way you want to play and win, have enough offense if you're without, at least two or three of those guys? I don't know what is Aaron Jones' status at this point? He was back on the field. He was back on the field for some of the end of that game, but Ty Chandler got a lot of the load on that last drive, which is unusual because Ty Chandler is not a good pass blocker. You would not usually see Ty Chandler on third down. So I do wonder what the status of Aaron Jones is. We'll probably learn more about that. But at this point, you got to take the win. They were able to finish off the win. It would have been so negative if they were unable to finish that off. Instead, they get the W, 2-0 against San Francisco, 2-0 in the league, 2-0, beating San Francisco, one of the best teams in the league. 49ers, before McCaffrey was ruled out, I think they were almost a touchdown favorite. Line moved down to like 4.5, but still, that's a good win. That's a really good win for this team, and that is a really good establishment of the blueprint. Now, let's go to a quick question before we go. Is the defense for real? I think the defense is for real. I do. I really do. I've been saying that since the start of the year. I've been saying if there is reason for optimism with this team, it is the defense. And I think the offense is overachieving, or at least achieving beyond my expectations. But you look at the front seven, you look at, as long as they are healthy on the back end, and it seems like they are relatively healthy right now. I didn't see anybody in the secondary, corners or safeties, go out. As long as those guys, because there's not enough cornerback depth, but as long as those guys stay relatively healthy, and you've got the front seven doing the things they did. Blake Cashman had a great game, deflecting the ball, doing smart things. Van Ginkel showed up again, getting all sorts of pass rush from different places. Everybody on that front seven is making plays right now. This defense is dangerous. It is difficult. It is unpredictable. They get their hands on the football. They create turnovers. They create havoc. They make it hard to play against. I know San Francisco wound up with a bunch of yards, over 400 yards. They did that in part because they were trailing. A lot of those were trail yards at the end of the game as they were trying to come back. And some of that was just good plays by San Francisco. Purdy made a bunch of good throws. Deebo Samuel made a bunch of nice catches. Like, that's going to happen against a good team. I think overall, they made them earn everything they got. And so this is a team right now that is functioning at a higher level on offense than I thought they would, and is maybe half a step better on defense than I thought they were. Haven't made any major special teams blunders outside of the Dallas Turner not being able to down the ball at the one. That's a rookie mistake. That's not like an end of the world kind of thing. Will Reichardt's making his kicks. The punts have been fine. There haven't been like these major gaffes where you're like, oh my God, that cost them a game, things like that. They are playing solid, complementary football right now, and I think that's the formula going forward. But I think if we had to say it right now, the defense is clearly the better side of the ball, the best side of the ball, and the side of the ball that will ultimately determine whether this is a playoff team or whether this is a team that ends up fading down the stretch. thanks for joining me on the stream today. I'll try to do this every Vikings Sunday. Until then, I'm Michael Rand. Check out the Access Vikings podcast later today. Ben Gessling, Andrew Kramer from US Bank Stadium. Check out Daily Delivery tomorrow morning. Myself with Patrick Royce. Thanks for hopping on the stream with me. And let's go enjoy the afternoon and evening games as we go.